At the moment we have 7 degrees. It's 8 o'clock.
1XX News brought to you by your East Bay New Worlds, where you can collect double Flybuys points until September 16.
From IRN at 8 o'clock, I'm Mike Francis. Air New Zealand says one of the planes that was hijacked in the terror attacks across the United States was a code-share flight with Air New Zealand operating as NZ 9051. However, initial investigations reveal that there is no record of any of its ticketed passengers being on board the flight. The flight concerned was United Flight UA 175 from Boston to Los Angeles. Tens of thousands of people have been killed in today's terror attacks. However, no official death toll has been released. 4 hijacked passenger jets slammed into targets on the east coast of the US. 2 smashed into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, causing the buildings to collapse. 50,000 people work in the World Trade Center alone. A 3rd plane went down at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. The 4th plane crashed in rural Pennsylvania, just to the west. US President George W. Bush has flown to an air base in Nebraska, the home of the US Air Force Strategic Air Command. He says America will respond.
The United States will hunt down and punish those responsible for these cowardly acts.
New Zealand Foreign Minister Phil Goff says it's likely that some New Zealanders will have been killed in the attacks. A special 0800 number is being set up for people with loved ones in the States. That number is not available yet, but we will bring it to you as soon as possible. The financial markets in the US are closed following the terrorist attacks and are unlikely to open again until next Monday. ASB Securities Managing Director Tim Preston says it will have huge ramifications for the rest of the world. He says the US dollar has weakened already.
And the big beneficiary of that's been the euro. Probably in New Zealand and Australia today, one of the big beneficiaries we'll probably see here is the bond markets. We've already had the Australian bonds rally very strongly, and we could see a 30-40 point rally in bonds here.
New York's mayor says the death toll from this morning's terrorist attack on the World Trade Center won't be known for at least a day. Mayor Rudy Giuliani says the scene which greeted him was almost indescribable.
It was the most horrific scene I've ever seen in my whole life. We saw the World Trade Center in flames, a big gaping hole all the way on the top of it. We could see people jumping from the top of the building.
Air New Zealand has cancelled all its flights to the US and says all its planes are accounted for and secure. Spokesman Mark Champion says a 747 due to fly from Los Angeles to Sydney is safe on the ground, and a flight from London to Los Angeles has not left the UK.
And other Air New Zealand aircraft have been diverted from entering US airspace. One diverted to Tahiti, and another one turned back due to land in Auckland at 8 o'clock this morning.
A New Zealander living in New York says an uneasy calm has descended on the city, where it's now late Tuesday afternoon. Richard Akel, who lives just kilometres from the World Trade Center, says an acrid smell fills the air and fine ash is falling on footpaths. He says he heard the second explosion from his house over the river from Manhattan, and shortly after witnessed the collapse of the towers.
It was like sort of a volcanic explosion with billowing clouds of dust and fumes and smoke.
Mr. Akel says the feeling on the streets is one of disbelief and horror.